The spinning circle. Okay, there we go. All right. I appreciate everyone being here tonight. We're going to try to cover a lot of stuff in a little amount of time. The only thing that I ask when we do these is if you have questions to just write them down. So let me get through the information first. And then if I haven't answered your question when we're done, we'll look back and we will make sure that we answer your question. That way, we've had several of these classes, and I think you've been to one where it's like, it's getting close to 9 o'clock, and I have to say, guys, I love you, but I want to go home. So we have to cut it off somewhere. But just keeping it organized like that helps us out tremendously, because I've been here since 9 o'clock this morning, and you know, I love you, but I want to go home. So if you just do that for me, and then just check your phones. And the other thing too, I really appreciate it, is if when you go home, to jump on the Facebook page and share this. That helps out a lot too, because I know there's a lot of people that have heard about us, not quite sure, but tonight is like the in-depth, like here's how to make program work. So that's what we're going to cover. Okay, so let's start off, and we're going to talk about the 3 reasons why it works the way it does. Number 1 is we're going to help you regulate insulin. Okay, whether you have not been diagnosed with insulin resistance, or if you're a full-fledged type 2 diabetic, listen up, because this is huge. I cannot tell you how many people we've helped get off their diabetic medications just by following what we tell you to do. Okay, we're going to get into the drops. I'm going to give you the Cliff's Note version of what the drops do, but you also have a document that we wrote that lists out each individual ingredient and the effects that they can have on your body. Okay, you can read that later. I'll give you the short version tonight, but the drops help us with the insulin portion of this. The food helps with the insulin portion of this, and walking helps with the insulin portion of this. And we'll talk about that when we cover exercise. Okay, the second reason why this is effective is because we're going to help you decrease your overall inflammatory load. The standard American diet, which we abbreviate as SAD because it's sad, it's pathetic, it stinks. Language control after 7 o'clock. I'm proud of myself. The standard American diet causes insulin and inflammation to surge and spike and valley and go like this all day long. Every time you spike up here, you're going to it's like a chemical signal for insulin. I can't talk. Insulin is a chemical signal for your body to store energy. We don't need to store any more energy. The standard American diet is very pro-inflammatory, and it causes all of these inflammatory markers, which is supposed to be a normal, healthy thing, but it dysregulates the whole thing. So what'll happen is you'll eat something and your knee hurts, okay? Or some other joint or something else is going on. But if we can clean the inflammation part of this out of your diet, that's how we win, okay? I sure hope my audio is working, because we just went in and went full send. So if anybody's watching online and can say something that we have audio, it looks like we do. So, and then the third reason, of course, is the coaching, the education, the accountability. Like, we're here to, I tell people we're here to hold your hand, but just keep in mind we do have some boundaries that we do like to keep. If you need us, text us. Okay? If you text us at 8 o'clock at night, may not get an answer until the next morning, but we're here to help you answer those questions. We're here to help hold you accountable. We're here to teach you these basic principles. So it's not just going to affect you. If you teach these to your kids, it's going to affect future generations, because if we keep eating the things that the TV tells us to eat, diabetes, obesity, inflammation, heart disease are going to continue to rise, continue to be the #1 causes of death. But if we can teach the next generation, we can flip that around. Now, the pharmaceutical companies do not like that because they hate competition, but screw them. Like, they're trying to make us fat and sick so they can make money. The further we get away from that, the better off we're going to be. Does that make sense? Okay, so the first part of this is the lipotropic drops. I want to be very, very clear that these drops, and you'll see it on in the paper that I wrote you, the drops in big bold letters are not stimulants. They are not hormones. The HCG diet was literally a hormone that tricked your body into thinking it's pregnant. That is not a good idea. I never felt good about it. It's come and gone for a reason. This is not the HCG diet. These drops are not going to increase your heart rate. They're not going to increase your blood flow, or excuse me, your blood pressure. They'll actually do the opposite for blood pressure, but they are literally there to help your body regulate insulin. So if you go through that sheet that I gave you, and yes, I will post this later for the people that are watching it online, and you read each one of those individual ingredients, the first thing is vitamin B3. Helps with blood flow. Then it goes through and talks about a couple of different amino acids, both essential and non-essential. Essential means you can't make it, so you have to eat it. Non-essential means you make it. Okay? But those amino acids are going to help with blood flow, with helping your body burn fat instead of protein, help with insulin sensitivity, help your gut heal. And then there's a few other nutrients listed at the bottom of that. I like to call those IF Nut, just because it sounds like something a witch would put in her caldera. But you can read through those and see exactly what they do. The bottom line for the drops is they help you regulate insulin better. They help improve your blood flow. They help your gut to heal. And a side effect of that is they help with your appetite. They help with sugar cravings. So when you get to that point where you don't feel like eating a second meal, guess what? You don't have to eat that second meal, right? Because these are going to help you burn fat instead of protein, so you don't go into quote-unquote starvation. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, that's the drops. Again, you've got a much more detailed explanation. You can take that home and read it. Feel free to reach out to us if something in there doesn't make sense. Okay, so you have day 1 and day 2 of taking just the drops and eating what you want. And Jenna, guess what? We found it yesterday. We got rid of it. It no longer says anything about eating that many calories. Thank you for helping me realize that it was still in there. We had an oh crap moment. We have fixed it. So before you leave tonight, grab the new packet.
Okay.
Just have one of those. Okay. We want you to have a good time on day 1 and day 2. We want you to go to your favorite restaurant. We want you to take your spouse out and go have dessert. It is purposely increasing your caloric intake because we're trying to wind up your metabolic machinery, but you don't have to go stuff yourself to the point that you feel like you're going to puke. So please, please do not make yourself sick. You're one of the reasons why we changed that, Amanda.
I went hard.
Atta girl. Hey, so day 1 and day 2, eat what you want, have a good time, but just take the drops. Because on day 3, what happens then? That's when we pull the rug out from under you. So day 3 begins what we call the reduction phase. How long does the reduction phase last? It depends on where you are at in your weight loss journey. You guys have seen some people in the Facebook group talk about losing an extreme amount of weight very, very quickly. That's abnormal. We'll take it, but it's abnormal. 1 to 2 pounds or half a pound to a pound a day happens quite often. So when you do get frustrated, be sure to go back and look at your graph inside of the app, because then when you do the math, you're like, oh, that's a half a pound a day, right? But this reduction phase will last until we get you closer to whatever your goal weight is. And at that point, we reevaluate. You have a conversation with your coaches or with me, and then we make a determination on where we go from there. Okay. So, by the way, coaches, Amanda, raise your hand. She's the newest one. She's awesome. She lost 50 pounds doing this. Ash, you've been with us for a little while now. Awesome individual, very smart. Kim, you've been with me since the beginning. Oh, and then Anna is actually in Kentucky, but she'll be going on maternity leave here in 24 to 48 hours, which will be our first grandbaby. So we're pretty stoked about that. So in the reduction phase is when we implement, for most people, this is when we implement intermittent fasting. Okay? There's a few exceptions. I had an exception today that I said when you start, we're going to eat breakfast, but that's a totally different ballgame. For most people, we want you eating in an 8-hour window and fasting in a I can't do math, 16-hour window. That is why we skip breakfast. We start eating 11, 12, somewhere around there, and then we stop eating 7 or 8. Okay? We do that to give your cells a chance to rest, and your cells do this really cool thing called autophagy, which is basically spring cleaning for your cells. They literally will start having these scavenger molecules that go out and just take out all the toxins, get rid of them, and you do that you can do that in a 16-hour fast. Okay. It is important to drink water. Yes.
I was going to say, depending on your work schedule, your family schedule, you could eat breakfast and lunch and not eat dinner. Like you can shift that around meal-wise. You know, people that get on the bus to go to the site at 4 a.m., it's not working well for them to not eat before,
Aaron?
Before 1 o'clock.
I don't go out to the desert, so I don't have to get up later.
So we had several that do.
Right.
It didn't work. It wasn't functional for them. So eat breakfast.
So what Kim is saying, I'm just going to paraphrase what you said for the microphone, is eating in a window from 11 to 7 doesn't work for everybody. We do change it for some individuals. Like we'll have them eat breakfast and lunch and then skip. But we do have to, quite often, we have to personalize that for whatever your schedule is. Is that a good paraphrase? Hey, maybe next time you can come sit up here and talk into the mic so it's not just me. Hey, so your food, so you start drinking your water. 64 ounces of water is the minimum. Okay, and we say if your pee is not clear, you are not drinking enough. The reason why you need that water is because your cells absolutely demand it, but it also helps keeping your liver flush because your liver is what's going to be processing some of this fat that you're getting rid of. So when you hit a plateau, what's the first question your coach is going to ask you? How much water are you drinking? Okay, 64 is the minimum. If you start pushing beyond, 95 or more, we need to talk about electrolytes because you can drink too much if you don't have enough electrolytes. That can be problematic. And if you have too many electrolytes, it could be problematic. So there's like this fine line that we've got to find. Okay. For your food, let's talk about that. So lunch and dinner basically consists of 4 to 6 ounces of protein. I before E except after C, right? My whiteboard doesn't put the little red line if I misspell it. What is protein? What are our protein sources? Chicken, fish, beef, wild game, pork, eggs. What's my favorite joke? If it has a face, you can eat it. Okay. The less processed, the better. Now, there's exceptions. You should have had the video that we made about the foods you buy from Costco. There are some processed things that you can get. There's some lunch meats that are actually okay. If you need to know what they are, let us know. Let your coach know. We'll get them to you. But in that video, there's things like Chomp's beef sticks. There's chicken skewers that you can buy at Costco. And somebody asked me the other day if I would do the same thing for Sam's Club. I would love to. If one of you has a membership and wants to go with me, I'll go with you. You guys have a membership? No, man. But your mom does, doesn't she? Your mom might have to take us to Costco or to Sam's Club, right? So that, just think, the less processed, the better. Okay? So you want to think more of a beef patty versus a beef hot dog, right? That's full of chemicals, full of bad salt, full of just junk that put in there as a preservative. Does that make sense to everybody? Hey, now, are protein drinks acceptable? In a pinch, there are some that you can use. Okay, that's only in a pinch. We don't want to make this a daily habit. There are certain brands that are much, much cleaner than others. I can't think of what they are off the top of my head, but if you ask your coach, we'll get you. What is the powder that we have? Trevani. Is that the?
That's the plant protein.
Okay. So, but think of it this way, right? We're trying to put you on a whole food diet. Even Trevani, being the cleanest protein that there is out there, is still a processed food. Okay? You only want to do that every now and then. Have I covered protein sufficiently?
Except that you did spell it wrong.
I did?
It is.
5 before you accept. Okay, well, I guess that rule doesn't work.
Except for.
Okay, now we put 4. Why did we put 4 to 6 ounces? Used to be 4. Number goes up depending on the size of the individual, the activity level of the individual, etc. So what I tell people here in the office is if you feel hungry, increase your protein and then tell your coach. Cool?
Is that a 4 to 6 like raw or?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. So she asked if it's 4 to 6 ounces raw or cooked. It's raw as much as you can. Okay, so if you're cooking chicken breasts, cut them and weigh them. Okay, if you're cooking a roast, nobody wants a roast to cook a roast that only weighs 4 ounces. That would be disgusting. So cook the roast and then divvy it out as best you can. But it is important to have a food scale. They're cheap, but use a food scale until your eyeballs get calibrated, and then you can fudge it from there.
I've heard that with meats, it's typically the size of a clenched fist.
Right. For you and I, that might be true. For Kim, probably a little less.
Yeah.
No, he just said that the rule of thumb is a clenched fist. So, but weigh it until you have the eyeballs calibrated. Okay. Next up is 4 ounces of fresh veggies. What are the vegetables we want to avoid? Potatoes, corn, peas, and carrots. I literally met with a guy that is an agriculture guy today that sells, I'm not sure what he sells to potato farmers, but he sells something to potato farmers. And when I said that, I'm like, you know what the number one thing is? He's like, probably potatoes. I said, yep. And we avoid those things just because they're higher on the glycemic index. And I feel like I should cover the microphone when I say this in Idaho. But think about potatoes, what they're doing in the ground, sucking up all those chemicals, like hard pass. So when we eat potatoes on occasion, and when we do, we make sure they're organic because, okay. Now, frozen vegetables are the next best thing to fresh. Okay. Commercially canned vegetables will do in a pinch, but I'm like, not quite sure what they're leaching out of those cans into the actual food. So I'd be careful there. All right. Next thing is 4 ounces of fresh fruit. Any fruit except for bananas, pineapples, mangoes, and grapes, which the more I've read, the more I think we're going to swap papaya and grapes. What do you think?
Papaya should be on the list.
Yeah, I think we can kick grapes off. Looks like we're changing everything again. Grapes in moderation, no papaya. How's that? You want to, who does the Dirty Dozen?
Environmental Working Group.
Okay, there's a group called the Environmental Working Group. Every year they release what's called the Dirty Dozen, which is basically the 12 fruits that you should avoid because they're the highest in
Like
contaminants. Like the highest in
glyphosate.
Glyphosate, thank you. That's what he did, is he sold glyphosate. That's probably why he didn't sign up. So high on the list, or like these are foods that are high on the list that you should make every effort to buy organic. On these, like strawberries are one are very, very high. Buy organic strawberries. Like Costco, their organic section is awesome for berries. We eat a lot of berries at our house, but apples, oranges, melons on occasion. Again, fresh is best. Frozen is the next best. Make sure if you buy the frozen, you read the ingredient list, that there's nothing else in there. Okay? We definitely don't want to do canned fruit because of the sugar that they pack them in. So
The melon is okay, like watermelon?
on occasion, yeah.
Okay.
It's not something you want to do every day. She asked if watermelon was okay, and I said it on occasion. It's not something you want to do every day because it is higher on the glycemic, and you have to eat a ton of it to feel full. So the fruit is literally there just so you have something sweet, plus the antioxidant properties, etc. Fiber.
Right.
Your gut bugs really want good fiber. And if you want lasting results, we're going to build nice intestinal flora. Okay, now, when looking at these three things right here, we want to follow what's called the KISS principle. What does KISS stand for? Keep it simple, sunshine.
I work in construction. We don't use that word.
There's other words we could use. Keep it simple, stupid. Literally keep it simple. Hey, how many times a week do you guys hear, well, I'm bored? Happens all the freaking time. But here's the reality, right? Before you came here and started this journey, you were eating pizza, hot dogs, hamburgers, spaghetti often, and you never got sick of it. You know why you never got sick of it? Because they literally put stuff in there to addict you to it, so your dopamine pathways go nuts, and you get a pleasure response when you eat those foods. You're not going to get that here. And that's a good thing when it comes to long-term health. Okay, so when you get bored, it's okay to let us know and say, I'm bored. We're not going to judge you for that. Hey, well, maybe we will. But it's okay to be bored. Right now, your body is screaming for boring. Boring helps your gut heal. Okay, so mix it up with spices, but keep it simple. Then when you can't stand it anymore, we do have recipes and things that we can use. Okay, so let's talk about moderation foods. Okay, foods you want to have on occasion. Top of the list, avocados. Awesome fats. Don't want to eat them every day, twice a day, because you're increasing your fat intake and we're trying to burn fat off of you. But if you want to use it as a garnish, cool, go ahead. If you want to put it in there and have it as your fruit, cool, go ahead. Okay, sweet potatoes are another one of those foods. Now that would fall in the vegetable category, but you can have those on occasion if you have to have something potato-y. Okay, the oils that you want to use to cook with, super simple. Extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil. I will tell you, in our home, we most often go to avocado oil because of its high smoke point. But literally take everything else away and throw it away and never buy it again. You know what the number one cause of heart disease is? Vegetable oil, hands down. Number two is sugar. But hey, don't worry, we're going to lower your cholesterol. That'll fix the problem. Hasn't fixed it. Okay, what am I missing? The brand of choice when it comes to salad dressing and condiments is Primal Kitchen. There's a couple others that are out there. Primal Kitchen is what we've seen has been the most readily available and the best. Walmart, it is the cheapest. Natural Grocers has the best selection. We buy ketchup and we buy mayonnaise from Costco because it comes in, but they put it in plastic bottles, which ticks us off, but can't be perfect. Okay, so use your oil sparingly, use your dressing sparingly. You know, the list of free foods. Did you ever have to use the free foods because you felt hungry? Yeah, sometimes. So salads, basically, lettuce, onions, tomatoes, cucumbers, so forth.
Can I say something?
Please.
So, like one of the tricks that I found on there is watch. You'll get a feel for it, but the types of vegetables that you use, some you will feel fuller with than others.
Right.
You know, if you're doing a stir fry and half your vegetables is celery, you're going to be hungry. Sorry, or at least I was. So
Aaron is saying, pay attention to the vegetables that make you feel full. Some will make you feel hungry. You specifically said celery in a stir fry. Well, there's a reason why celery is on the free list. It's because you can eat tons of it, and yeah. So that's a great point. I appreciate you bringing that up. And that's the value of being here in person and not watching us online. Still love you guys, though. Have I covered food sufficiently?
Salmon in moderation.
Salmon, great point. Okay. When we originally started this program, salmon was on the no list. And then I literally looked at Kim one day and I said, no one ever got fat eating salmon. And we immediately, that's when we brought it back. It's like a light bulb went off. But it's a high fat food. It's a healthy fat food. So you can have it every now and then. Please do. Am I missing anything else? Okay. The next topic we want to cover is exercise. This is important. Okay? There is a fine line between too little and too much. Okay? Have I had people in this program be very successful with this program not exercising at all? Yes, I have. Have I had people in this program that have still lost the weight that they wanted, but it took twice as long because they were exercising too much? Yes, I have. Okay, so we have a couple of just simple rules of thumb. There is data that is shown that if you have a 15-minute walk, brisk walk, after each meal, that is better for blood sugar regulation than a 45-minute sustained walk. So I realize you're only eating 2 meals a day, but I'm encouraging you, if you're able, to just get out and walk after each one of them. Just make that habit now. Okay? But when you walk, I'm going to encourage you to go at a pace that you can at least maintain a conversation. Okay? If we start pushing ourselves to outside of that conversation window, we're probably doing a little bit too much, and the amount of food that you're currently eating may not be enough to sustain it. Okay? Now, what I highly encourage you to do is talk to your coaches about what you're doing, what you want to do, because if you want to work out more than that, that's fine. Just understand it's going to take longer. You're going to need to eat more protein. Okay? Please don't plan on training for a marathon or some other crazy thing while you're doing this. Okay? We're going to focus on getting the weight off. And what was it what I said to you, Amanda, once that you hit your weight goal? It's time to hit the weights.
Yes.
Okay? So we get the weight off, then it's time to pour on and figure out whatever else the workout regimen that you want to do. Because in the end, muscle is the organ of longevity. The more muscle you have, the longer you will live. Period. We good with that? What am I missing here, babe? We talked about exercise. We've talked about the food.
Want to talk about apple cider vinegar?
Great. Yes. Is someone asking questions and I can't see it, Amanda? Is that why you're?
Before, but I took care of it.
Okay, thanks. Apple cider vinegar, make it your best friend. I realize that it tastes nasty, okay? But here's the thing. if you can do a shot, like a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar before you eat, like throw it back, start your meal. You can reduce your insulin surge by as much as 40% just by doing that. Okay. We highly encourage you to do that as much as you can. Do you have to take apple cider vinegar to the restaurant with you? No. You can get it from salad dressing. Hey, but just do that as much as you can. Be consistent with it as you can, just to reduce those spikes. Can you mix it with water? Yes. Okay. Can you put it in a dressing and use it as a dressing? Yes. My preference, throw it back. Okay. How much are those things at Costco?
Oh, it's like a 3-pack, like $11.
Yeah.
Organic.
It's super cheap. And it's just a great habit to get into for longevity and to keep the weight off. Okay.
1 tablespoon.
A tablespoon.
Okay.
Yep. Speaking about keeping weight off, let's shift and talk a little bit about what happens after the reduction phase. What does maintenance phase look like? It looks different for everybody in here. Okay, some of you are going to have different requirements, but we will. I tell these people all the time, we'll cross that bridge when we get there for you individually. Typically, what it involves is just starting to bring foods back one by one. And then when we figure out that sweet spot, if you follow what we tell you to do 90% of the time and allow 10% of the time to go on cruises and other things that we do, hey, you're going to be fine. What we're doing for you is developing metabolic flexibility. What I mean by that is when you start with us, your inflammation levels in your body are way up here. Then we reduce them, and then we keep them down. In the meantime, your immune system develops the ability to respond to insults. So when you're done with this program, you go on a cruise and you eat that garbage for a week, your inflammation levels are going to spike. But instead of staying up here, when you get home and get back on the bandwagon, they drop right back down. Okay. Now, if that happens over time and you see yourself starting to put weight back on, call us. It might be as simple as maybe we just need to go on a bottle of drops and do the reduction phase for a month. It might be that you need a little bit more coaching. We're happy to provide those things for you. Okay? I have yet to kick anybody out of the Facebook group. There's always help for you there. Just reach out to us. So when you're done with this, if you see it starting to come back on, just reach out. All right. Okay. I'm going to turn this off, and you guys can ask me whatever questions you want, and we'll go from there. So, guys, I will post a link later to the papers that we handed out. So those are coming. Thanks for joining us.